right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. Dina's going to set us off on a really great path this afternoon.
So, good afternoon. I am Dina Zuckerberg and the Director of Family Programs at MyFace. I myself was born with a cleft lip. For those who don't know, it's a gap in the lip that was repaired when I was a few months old. Hearing loss in both ears. I wear a hearing aid in my left, and I was also born with no vision in my left eye. I had 6 surgeries growing up at NYU. Dr. McCarthy was my surgeon. And years of braces, orthodontics, and speech therapy. Kids would tease me when I was growing up. They would say mean things. I would sometimes sit alone in the lunchroom and on the school bus, and those moments have stayed with me even today. Fast forward 11 years ago, I joined MyFace as the Director of Family Programs, and when I came to MyFace, I never wanted any child to go through what I did growing up, and so I created a lot of different programs like support groups, like the Wonder Project, where we go into schools speaking to students about differences, choosing kindness, and being an upstander, something that was really important to me, and it's based on the young adult novel Wonder by R.J. Palacio. And since doing that program, we've reached about 100,000 students. At MyFace, we believe that the world is stronger when every person, no matter how they look, is valued, respected, included, and empowered to reach their greatest potential. We believe every individual has value. We work collaboratively with trust and kindness while building community. Community is so important. I, as a child, didn't have this community, and what I see happening today is amazing. And all the young ones here, like Naomi and Logan, having that community, having that support, having the resources that MyFace has been able to do is just nothing short of amazing and makes me so happy to see. And just to give a little brief about MyFace, MyFace was founded in 1951. A long time ago, and we started to help men and women coming back from the war who had been injured in the face or burned, and then under Dr. John Converse and Dr. McCarthy and Dr. Cutting and others, we helped children who were born with a facial difference and those that have acquired their difference through disease or accident. So we are expanding. We are now in Chicago. We are doing so much. So thank you all for being here, and I am going to now turn it over to Bill Villafranco, our Executive Director.
Thank you, Dina. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's going to be a great luncheon series conversation with Celina and Paige. Very excited to have both Celina and Paige here today. By background, Celina is a gifted artist, an educator whose project, Defining Beauty, celebrates the faces and stories of those too often overlooked. Paige, a fearless birthmark advocate, producer, model, and our vibrant host for this year's MyFace Celebrates Gala. So if you haven't got your tickets, feel free to let us know and we're happy to help. But Paige will be hosting. So thank you, ladies, for joining us and being part of the series. So I promised Celina that I would lob the first easy question to her. So Celina, who are you? And how has your personal experience shaped your current path?
Okay, well, my name is Celina, and I was born with a port wine stain birthmark on my chin, lip, and cheek. And I started making paintings of people who have port wine stains and other vascular anomalies around 2020. And then I met people from the MyFace community, and I started painting those people as well. And it's been like such a wonderful journey. I've met so many people, and like the paintings have really been a place where people come together and community is formed, and that's been like so special. So That's part of my story. I'm also an art teacher. I work in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn High School of the Arts. Yeah.
It's terrific. Thank you, Celina. And around the room, you'll see some of Celina's artwork from some of our advocates, ambassadors that she's painted, and there's many, many, many more. She'll be in Chicago this summer, featured at an event at the JCC with much of her work. So we're really excited about that, Celina.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Paige, the harder question. Who are you? And how has your personal experience shaped your current path?
I'm Paige Billiot. I was born with a port wine stain birthmark on half of my face, goes into my head, neck, and ear. Growing up, it was not seeing any representation was always a big question mark, and feeling extremely alienated and not being able to relate to any type of media, any type of books, dolls, anything growing up. I had a bit as much of an identity crisis you can have at 6 years old or 7, 8, I really had a hard time to struggle. I didn't want to be me. So acting seemed like a really great alternative and career choice. So at around 8 years old, that's all I wanted to do, was just kind of be in front and behind the camera and create film and just the stories that I never got to see. So that's what kind of started this rooted desire of wanting to be an advocate of some extent. Went to high school as a theater major, went to Las Vegas Academy of Performing Arts, so I got to get a taste of that a little bit. That's when I was still covering up my birthmark, but still just being in that space and being able to pretend to be anyone but myself was really fun. And then jumping out of high school, it was, okay, no, I think I want to see people like me in what I watch. So that started that journey of going to LA, trying to find an agent, manager. Didn't work out very well. I was told I was too distracting in any type of role, and it was usually before they even saw how bad I could act. I got really frustrated of not being able to be in something, and I was like, well, I can't make a film overnight, but I can take a photo. So that's when I started the Instagram in mid-2015. It was the first time I ever took a photo where it was a bit of a highlight of my birthmark, where I was really showcasing it, where it was really the focus. And it was, I know this is a question later, but it was a really big moment of you can highlight this. You can actually do other things besides what I'm constantly told of hide it and try and get it fixed and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of where I'm at now. We started taking photos and doing these really cool themed photo shoots and turning it into graphic design, visual effects, props, all kinds of wild stuff, wild stuff. I would never imagine I'd be gluing flowers to my face when I was younger. I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't, but it was, hey, I love just kind of using this as the focus and just trying to create a different perspective on how we see differences. And here we are.
And now, Paige, I think you have over a few 100,000 followers.
I wish,
right?
but thank you. It's been a slow progress, but it's the algorithm data. You can't really control. But yeah, we're over 100,000, and it's a lot of it is community. A lot of it is people in different communities, and whether it's themselves, their parents, an uncle, cousin, best friend, and a lot of support. So it's been really amazing to see.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Paige, can you share with me the moment that you looked in the mirror and saw that you had a difference? Do you remember that? Do you remember where you were?
It's a really great question. I feel like, understandably, my childhood is a bit of a blur. I don't know if I actually had that moment, because it's always felt that even before I could understand what you just said, to look in a mirror and be like, oh, this is different. people and their stares and gasps and their questions and their judgments and their comments was that experience. It was adults when I was a child, you know, it was more adults than it was kids, of really making sure that I knew that I was different but in a wrong way. So when I looked in the mirror, I mean, I think like I've just always had that then lens, essentially. It was very much that type of judgment was projected, and I carried it for a very long time. Yeah.
Celina, can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, like as you were speaking, I have a memory of being a young girl just after a laser treatment. So when you get lasered with your port wine stain, these like purple dots show up. They're like bruising, and I was in a golden pear with my mom, and this like man came up to us and he was like, "Ugh, what's on her face?" And my mom was so shocked, she like didn't have the courage to say anything. And I was like young enough and bold enough to be like, "It's my birthmark." And but I like agree with you. I feel like it's adults that made me aware of it. And I think at a certain point, I was looking at an old photo album when I was very young, like 5 or 4, I was very like smiling and so happy. But then around like 6, 7, I started covering my covering my face in every photo, and I'd be like this or like this. And I feel like that was the moment when I became very self-aware and like wanted it to be gone and stuff. Yeah.
So would that be maybe the moment where you felt maybe broken? Maybe alone?
Yeah, I think I definitely remember questions like, why me? Like, out of all the people, why do I have to deal with this? Or like adults telling me like, oh, if only it was like anywhere else on your body and not on your face. It's such a shame, like, and kind of making me feel like bad about it. Yeah.
Interesting. You know, one of the questions I pose to myself often is, if I see someone with a difference, how do I approach them, and what do I say? And I talked to Dina about this, and that must have been 2 years ago now, Dina, that I was having ice cream with my kids, and there was a young boy who had a visible difference, and he was with his grandmother. And normally, I would just go, those of you know me, I would just go play with that little kid and just say, hey, that looks like great ice cream, like what flavor? And I completely froze. I had no idea what to do. So Celina, since you're holding the mic, if you were at that ice cream parlor with me that day, what would you tell me could be the beginning of a conversation?
I don't know I know the correct answer. I feel like I just wouldn't ask them until I've gotten a better relationship with the person and they feel like they can trust me. And I think that when they feel comfortable to talk to me about it, then that is something that you can do. I don't know. Do you have a better answer?
Depends on the mood. I think, it's definitely a sensitive kind of how to gauge. Everyone's on their own journey in their self-love healing journeys. So a lot of people don't even want it to be acknowledged, even from someone that actually looks like them. But my approach is like, if one wants to make a comment and is so compelled, most of us love compliments, and we also love to educate. Most of us, we love to tell people what this is, and that it's not a disease, and you're not gonna catch it if you're too close. But it's all about like the tone and how we're approached. You know, it's how one is approaching your space. And I think that's just everybody. That's, like if someone is aggressively coming into your space, hey, what is that? You're gonna feel a little taken back. But, hi, oh my gosh, I just noticed that I wasn't sure if maybe that was a birthmark, but I just wanted to say how beautiful or how cool that looked. Like, it just looks really, really cool. Like, we would love that. Or, hey, I'm not sure, like, I was just so compelled by your beauty. What is that? Do you mind me asking? And most of the time, no, not at all. Thank you so much. This is a birthmark. I was born with it. And I really appreciate you asking. That's really great. That's usually, I feel like, how I want a lot of those conversations to be had. But that doesn't always, we're not always usually approached that way, unfortunately.
You know, I'm gonna ask Naomi to stand and tell us her story for just a minute about the subway ride you took about a year ago, Naomi, with the young girl?
Sure.
She had no idea I was doing this, so. But I think it's very meaningful.
Okay, stand over there.
That's good. Thank you.
So on my first day working at my face, I actually saw a girl like a collect on the train, and I had several conversations with people in the community that are friends, like, how do you feel about me just going up to a stranger? And then most of the time we're like, I don't think it's a bad idea. Most of the time I'm like, And sometimes I feel very inspired, and it was one of those days I went up to her, I was like, oh my god, hi. I hope this isn't weird. I was like wearing a mask, and I'm like, I have a class, I noticed you have a class. I would love to take your picture one day, because I also have a photography project. And we exchanged numbers, it was nice. I didn't really think much of it. And then a couple hours later, she texted me a couple months ago. I saw a poster of a girl who looked exactly like me. And if you guys don't know, we had the My Face is Beautiful campaign on the bus shelters. And she had taken a picture and sent it to her parents. And turns out it was me. So now we're like Instagram friends. I'm trying to get her to come to My Face event.
But yeah. I mean, I love that story, and Naomi came into the office so excited to share that story with us, and it was a great story. Thank you, Naomi. You never know who I'm going to ask to stand up and speak, right? So, Paige, boy, modeling, movie producing, acting, you couldn't pick the more difficult industries to break into for anyone. So, what is it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's just what I was just really drawn to. I mean, that for me, I was like, that was where I would feel the most impacted growing up, was my movies, you know, my books, my magazines, my billboards. Like, that would have been the most impactful. I think that would have been a global, you know, like if you're trying to get representation awareness, I'm like, that's going to be probably the thing. So that's why I was just always drawn to it. But yeah, I mean, it was 2 years of just constant. And my headshot didn't include my birthmark, so it was still that transition phase of me being fully comfortable. My headshots now, like, fully show my birthmark, but like, you know, that took most, or I'd say a good chunk of my 20s. Now I just like called myself out on age, but that's okay. So yeah, the first 2 years was just, you know, we don't know where to put you, you're too distracting in the back, and we can't put you in a front role, like this. It's not called for a birthmark. Why are you even here? Like, some would kind of entertain and just allow me to kind of maybe do the audition, but they already before it. Once they saw me there, you know, I get a lot of questions. You can cover that up, right? And then they kind of take notes. And I'm like, okay, we'll take note of that if we're going to consider you. I even remember the one audition that I ever had in LA that actually asked for visible differences and like specifically said like birthmarks, scars, a lot of facial differences. I was like, oh, got this in the bag, you know, let's do this. I think it was like a Verizon commercial. And I show up and there was not one single person there with a visible difference. They were all just, you know, the norm group of people that you would imagine didn't get the roles. I don't know if they changed direction or what, but it became very clear very quickly. You just got to do your own stuff. So the acting has been pretty limited because I've been pretty busy with doing more social media kind of awareness and representation. Creating a film is obviously a bigger endeavor than posting a video. So, you know, we've been so it's been a work in progress as I've been behind the scenes, working my way up as a producer, making those connections, because it's all about private funding at this point. I've done my research, I have my connections with studios, I know people, you know, Peanut Butter Falcon, I worked with those producers, you know, I worked with people who like are disabled advocates that are creating trusts that are buying inclusivity into film. And it's over and over again, very, very clear that it's gonna be your own stuff, your own way, with your own money. That's the only way that you're gonna be able to get representation and awareness out there, so.
But yet you broke through with Sephora, didn't you?
We did, but so the makeup beauty world is a little bit different. they're going to be a little bit more open to inclusivity and DEI than a studio film. Before all, earlier this year with a lot of the DEI rollbacks, the consensus with a lot of makeup and beauty industry was that skin differences, skin conditions were the next push right now. Within film, it was supposed to be disability, and also part of the SAC Disability Committee. We'll see how that kind of happens with how this year's been going. The beauty industry is a little bit more open to specific skin conditions because skincare is going to be more aligned with that. So yeah, IT Cosmetics, there are a few brands out there that really do support diversity. That it's few, but like we have more. They are becoming more supportive and very genuine. Not just kind of a token person advocate, so that we can kind of get more clickbait, which is a very common thing. So the IT Cosmetics thing is amazing. I mean, it's such a moment. I'm still pinching myself over it for sure. It's one step to many. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Galit?
I have two parts. One, I want to say I worked in Hollywood for 30 years. And when I first started, it was sending actresses to fat farms for 8 pounds, 10 pounds. And I feel like that's changed. And I feel like it's coming. And I can't wait to see you in something. So that's first of all, I think it's coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The second thing, as a mom with a child that has a craniofacial difference, what advice would you give to me? Because he's 10 and he is going through bullying and other things. What advice would you give to a mom?
Whew, it's a loaded question. I had, a lot of the times I will actually give that conversation to my mom, like, hey mom, I've got some parents that could really use your help and kind of your perspective. But I would know that like some of the things that she would say, because I had such a great support system, beautiful, beautiful support system. My mom, my best friend, my absolute hero. She would want to spit in kids' faces that were bullying me, And even with all of her love and all of her support, I still couldn't relate. Her and I still couldn't relate very much. I think the thing that would have been immense for me as a child was getting a community. Being able to meet other people who looked like me, no matter what that age was, even as a child, being able to see adults that looked like me, smiling, thriving, having a successful, happy life. The societal pressure and judgment, which I still think is what it was then, is still very similar to now, is that, if you're different, something needs to be fixed. That's still the medical model. How are we gonna fix, not how maybe are we gonna just keep this healthy. So you feel incredibly alienated, and even with beautiful support, you cannot relate like you can with somebody who looks like you and being able to just even hang around them. You don't even need to have tons of conversations. And that's why it was so important for me to even just start something with the social media. It was at least a video of me just smiling, existing, being happy, and not covering it, because we don't see that anywhere else. I never saw that as a child. So you had to just go off of your own opinions and just your beautiful mom telling you, you're beautiful, stand out, be you, don't worry about what anybody thinks. The other thing I would say is, I call it the Batman theory, or the Batman effect, and it's an actual practical approach instead of just, try to find how you could love yourself, which is, a lot easier said than done. It's actually start to pretend to be a version of yourself that you can grow into, a version of yourself that that you can be to grow into. I walked into rooms with a confidence that I didn't fully believe in until my nervous system caught up. And it will eventually catch up. I was borrowing a confidence of a version of me that I always wanted to be. I was borrowing a voice until it became mine. And it was an incredible tool. I needed it because it felt like going out of the house, I was preparing for battle every single time. Just going to the grocery store. It's like, I don't want to be stared at. It looked like I got abused. My mom doesn't want to be questioned if she abuses her child. I don't want to be harassed of who I saved in a fire. I'm just trying to get bananas. You know? So community. Submerge your child in social media that are advocates, positive advocates. Start doing some virtual meetups. There are a lot of advocates that are starting to do that more in person. Those things are happening, and I will tell you right now, as long as they have something like that, some version of what they could see themselves as, they're going to do amazing. Yeah.
Dina asked my wife just the other day, when she saw a picture of herself as a baby, "Mom, what happened to my mark on my face?" And my wife looked at Louisa and said, "Why do you ask that question?" She said, "Because I don't look like I was when I was born. Why did you change my face?" And, you know, Courtney, those that know her, she's pretty witty. She figured out medically was the answer. So she explained to Louisa the medical reasons why. But I found it very interesting that Louisa, being around Dina and being inside this community since she was a baby, felt like we changed her. And she wanted to know why. And I felt that a really compelling conversation that I'm so happy I was not part of. And I just sat on the sidelines. But again, it talks about community, and normalizing is the wrong word. Dean always corrects me when I say that, but it respectfully corrects me. But it's about inclusivity. So, Celina, I'd like to ask you a question. You know, today marks the end of International Face Equality Week. So what does face equality mean to you on a very personal level?
Face equality means to me creating spaces for people who look different, and the education of others. It's kind of a hard question, and I was thinking about this. I think that if you don't have any kind of difference, it should be your responsibility to educate yourself and learn about differences, and so you already come to the table with that education when you meet someone new. I think to say a birthmark looks like a bruise, for me it's so obvious that it doesn't look like a bruise, because I've seen so many birthmarks and I think they just visibly look so different. And so if a person sees a lot of different kinds of port wine stains, then they will know that that's a port wine stain and not a bruise. So I think education is really important, and communities like My Face and art shows and social media, these are all places where people learn and educate themselves without even having to have that conversation. So face equality means promoting what we do.
Yeah, that's so true. So Paige, what do you wish more people understood about facial differences so it becomes more, sorry Dina, normalized?
Yeah, I mean, kind of to piggyback off of what Celina was saying was, I wish that people were just more educated in general. I wish that in the educational system there was more of a curriculum for it. I wish within the medical, med school, that there was more than just one 30-minute lecture to cover all 3,000 plus skin conditions. I can't tell you how many doctors I've had come up to me have any idea what this is. Think it's a flesh wound. They think it's, major head trauma. They think it's an infection. I mean, it's gotten me in emergency rooms quicker, I'll tell you that, because they think it's, head trauma. But, and I'll have to ask for a new doctor, because I'm that just feels weird. I'm going to need to see someone else. So the education is a really big thing, but because I feel that would help with so many narratives, so much judgment that answers your question. That is what I wish their narratives were debunked by facts, because their narratives, they're going off of, nothing. They're going off of villain stories in films. If they weren't educated in school, if they don't see it in their walks of life, and then you have a Batman movie come out with Two-Face, that's why we're called Two-Face all the time. That's why I'm called Freddy Krueger all the time. It's because they don't have anything else to reference. No one has taught them that differences are just cool. Differences are just simply that. They're neutral. It's nothing to fix. It is what it is. It's not a pity thing. We're all walks of life, and that's just what it is. And just like everybody else, we just want to be seen, heard, and just treated fairly.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So then what gives you hope right now? In a world that we're living in right now, Celina, I'm going to come to you too after, but what gives you hope right now, Paige?
Having conversations like this, having meetings, opportunities to be able to share my voice, having people who actually want to hear it, that really gives me hope. If there are people who want to learn about our stories, learn about our experiences, and actually kind of support getting that out there more, that gives me tons of hope. And this younger generation too. Like the messages and photos that I get from some of these parents about their kid, like first day in second grade, and completely highlighting their birthmark, and now like they're the most popular kid in school. I'm like, oh my God, like I wouldn't have done that when I was younger. Like these kids are gonna blow, me out of the water. Like they're gonna be my role models here pretty soon. So that gives me a lot of hope that they're so bold and confident and like unfiltered in the best way. And that took me, quite some time to get there. So.
It's terrific. How about you, Celina? What gives you hope?
I think, people coming to my art shows and really liking the art and learning about skin conditions and differences and being so genuine about it and excited, that really gives me a lot of hope. And I was always so scared to make it my main type of art. I didn't want to be so vulnerable with people, but then being vulnerable and then having people excited about it, that gives me a lot of hope. And I was on the news talking about my paintings on Fox 5, Fox 11, and they're excited about it, so that gives me hope. Yeah.
Many of you know me. I'm probably one of the most optimistic people about life in general. And I always try to find opportunities to hear stories about optimism. I don't watch the news. Sorry, Celina, I didn't see you on the news.
It's on YouTube.
I find, I'll watch it. I live with my 89-year-old dad who loves, telling me all the sad news going on in the world, and it's not who I am. But in just conversation with each other, we can learn quite a lot. And Alex, mind me asking you what you just told me, which is absolutely remarkable, that I think you all find very interesting.
Thank you, Bill. My name is Alex Sanger, and I'm a co-trustee with Bill of the Virginia B. Toolman Foundation. And we have a program, in addition to funding wonderful organizations like Whiteface. We have a program in the performing arts where we fund women who are composers, choreographers, and playwrights. And I'm very proud because we're the first organization to do this, and we are still the only organization to do this. Exclusively women who are creating great new works of art. And there's a new opera that we have funded, and it's called Sensorium X. The X is spelled EX. So it's Sensorium EX. And the woman who wrote it is named Paola Pristini. And she lives in Brooklyn. And it is, I'm just going to read what they say about it. It is an opera that synthesizes artificial intelligence, disability, and the arts. And operating at the intersection of artificial intelligence, disability, and the arts, this opera explores the fundamental question of what it means to have voice and the nature of voice beyond language. And this opera tells the story of a sort of a dystopian tale about a mother and son. And the son is nonverbal and non-ambulatory. Actually, the actor playing the role, the son has got cerebral palsy. And during the performances, he's either lying in bed or in a wheelchair. And the opera's about an organization trying to take advantage of his disability to learn how to create speech. And I've seen a workshop of it, a lesson. The opera's about an hour and 15 minutes. And it opens this weekend in Omaha, Nebraska. There's a festival out there of new opera. And they are hoping to bring it to New York and Los Angeles. And in the cast, The cast, it consists of, there are about a dozen in the cast, singers. And they are predominantly disabled. The two lead women singing are both blind. And there are other singers with various disabilities. It's quite extraordinary. It's the first opera ever dealing with disabilities and having a cast that reflects the variety of experience in the human condition.
That's amazing.
So Bill and I will be following this and supporting it. Well, certainly going to let my face know about it. And so I just have one question for our two panelists. Can you sing?
So again, it's happening. We all have to be willing to share what's happening with each other, because that's silent. And once it's out, Toolman Foundation will make sure others hear it, but we need to share these stories with each other. It is so important. Something that I believe in at My Face is the concept of sharing stories. So thank you, Alex. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, very cool.
So I'll start with you. I think, Celina, you have the mic. What advice would you give to a young person with a facial difference who may feel unseen or unsure of their worth?
I would say go out and find community, find others that look like you, and connect with them. I, for so much of my life, felt so isolated, feeling like I was the only one that dealt with having a birthmark, or when I saw someone on the street, I wouldn't actually talk to them. So then creating these spaces where we can meet and celebrate what we look like, and I just wish I had that when I was younger, so that's what I would suggest.
And then Paige, what does it mean to be relevant? Because clearly you're working harder and harder to be real relevant. What does it mean? And can you give us some advice at My Face on how we could help others become, in their mind, more relevant?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just trying to create our own stories, our own projects, like kind of, like what some of us are currently doing, and how you are trying to support, amplify that. And I think it's just, we got to create our own representation and awareness through all aspects: education, medical fields, obviously media and film, staying, representation is like an ongoing thing. It's not seasonal, so it's just constantly using your voice, constantly standing up, constantly speaking, and constantly not taking no for an answer as well.
Taking no for an answer. You may know we have an ambassador group. We have 9 incredible young adults that formed our ambassador group, and Logan just became the 9th just a week ago. So, so what does it mean for an organization to have an ambassador group? And what do you do with that information? I could tell you at My Face, we listen to these young ambassadors. We go to battle sometimes with our young ambassadors because we're not quite sure we don't understand necessarily what it is that we don't understand. And Naomi and I are fierce at this together. We have lots of great conversations. And she brought an idea to me not too long ago where she wanted to have a spring fling. And I said to her, what is that? She said, it's sort of like a prom, kind of. We're going to bring people together, and we're going to dance, and we're going to have fun. And can I do it? And I said, I think it's a really great idea. Right, Naomi? That one I said it was a good idea, right? Right. So Naomi did it with the other staff members, and Saturday night they had an amazing time. There were pictures on Facebook and Instagram of Naomi dancing, with Dina dancing and singing, and I asked Naomi on last night, I said, how was it? And she said, Bill, it was really great. It was really, really great. I learned more about members of our community than I ever would have learned. I have new ideas on how we can reach our community. I'm ready to get the next thing going. So it's all about hearing each other. And it's one thing I'm learning as I've gotten older is we listen, but do we necessarily hear? And it's a fine line that I'm working hard to listen and hear what I'm being told. So just one closing comment or question. As we approach our gala, which we're super excited about, and you have friends that'll be performing, Adam Pearson actually coming in from London, what gets you excited about our gala?
Well, I'm really excited to see Paige and Adam Pearson so more people can see them. And my friend Sarah, she's performing, she's singing for the gala, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, I think that it's important to have these events so that more awareness can be made and people can get involved and engaged. So, yeah.
And Paige, how about you? You're coming all the way from LA yet again in just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So tell us about what excites you.
Honestly, just getting to meet more of the community. I get zoomies. Like, I literally get zoomies. Like, when we were at the shoot yesterday, I just could not stop smiling. I act like I'm 12.
A zoomie?
Like, you know, cats, they get zoomies, and their dogs,
All
like,
right.
you know, they'll get...
John, did you know what a zoomie was?
You guys don't know what zoomies are? You know,
Neither
it's
does
like...
Barbara, so good. I feel
It's like it's usually right before or after a cat or a dog goes to the bathroom, and they get, there's an actual term with cats, it's called poophoria.
All
So
right.
they actually so they get zoomies. They like run around crazy and they're super excited. And so that was me yesterday all day. I didn't have to use the restroom, but I mean, you know, just like, I could not stop annoying Naomi and Justin and Alea and just, can you want to do a content video? You want to do a video with me? Can you take a photo? Can you take a photo? I'm like, okay, so what's this? What's this? How do you feel about this? What's going on? You know, it's just, I love it because we didn't have that growing up. And it's
Yeah.
just such an important, it means everything. Like, that's just all that but besides growing up wishing that I was normal, it wasn't, I just wish I had other people that I could talk to and hang out that looked like me. So I'm just most excited about that. And, you know, just to see just difference being celebrated. Mm-hmm. It's everything.
Well, I'm excited that both of you will be there, and many of you will be there as well. We still have tickets. But I just want to take you through just real quickly my background on why I sit in this seat. It all came from John Gordon, who I met when Mrs. Toolman passed away. And John introduced me to Joe McCarthy. And quickly I fell in love with this organization, and now I have the privilege of leading the organization as the executive director. And I have to tell you, I'm having a lot of fun. And I have John and I have Joe constantly wondering, how are you doing what you're doing? And this organization has moved so far. And I mean, I think Joe even said to me last week or the week before that he was proud of what we're doing. And I think it's a really important word from someone like Joe, who really brought this organization to the forefront and now is watching from the sidelines, although not always, he calls me often, which I love, to get a checkup. And you know, Joe, we appreciate you being here and all that you've done for us at My Face and the community at large. So let's just give a round of applause for Joe. So also, there's some great board members. They're all great board members, but there are a few here today that I just want to recognize. We have John Gordon, Charlie Beaver, Sandra Newshots, Barbara Zuckerberg. I didn't miss anyone, did I? Great. So just a round of applause for the board. It's just amazing. And then honestly, none of this happens. None of it, including the newsletter that's sitting on in front of you, without the help of Dina, Karen, Alyssa, Jackie, Lizzie, and Naomi. It's an amazing staff. So the plan is to have one more luncheon conversation the end of June. We'll be taking the summer off, and then we'll be having our luncheon series continue starting in September. Every 6 weeks is the plan. We're working on speakers now, so that we can give you an idea and a sense of who will be here and when. But for now, we really appreciate all of you being here. Paige, Celina, you're just incredible human beings, and it's a pleasure to sit here next to you and be part of your life. So thank you, and thank you all for coming.